And what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It is your boy Cheap Ludes, and I'm back with another tier list, man. So if you're new to the channel, drop a like on this video, comment down below what you think of the tier list at the end, and subscribe. So yesterday we did point guards. Today we're going to be doing the best shooting guards in NBA 2K21, my team. As of right now, January, what is it, like the 4th or something? I don't even know. As of January 2021, the beginning of it. So at the beginning of every month, we do tier lists, and I rank all the players basically who've come out that month. You know what the deal is. But let me go over the parameters real quick. So we got S tier. S tier would be the unquestionable best cards in the game. Essentially guys that anybody could plug into their lineup and it'll make their lineup better. In addition to that, they're going to be like 5-tool guys that can pretty much do everything. You know, they got the badge count to play defense, rim run, facilitate, shoot, pretty much take over the game in every facet of it. So that's kind of what dictates somebody being an S tier. Just overall unquestionable best. Like no matter what your play style is, no matter what you do, adding this guy to your team makes it better. A tier will be guys that for the most part do the same thing as S tier. They're just to a lesser extent as the S tier guys. Like depending what your team looks like by adding them, it'll probably in the grand scheme of things make it better. But at the same time, they're just one step below the S tier guys. B tier guys, incredibly good cards. Obviously, they're going to be better than all the C, D, or F tier guys. They're going to be guys that are good at least like 3 to 4 of what I consider to be the 5 tools of NBA 2K21. My team, at least for 2K21, would be like defense, badge count, rim running, shooting, facilitating. Obviously, there's more to the game than that, but those are the 5 tools that I recognize just as a general sense. C tier guys are going to be specialist guys. They're going to be good at like 1 or 2 things or 1 or 2 game modes. I do take all game modes into consideration. If you watch my tier list in the past, you know I always loop in a guy for like limited, for TTO, TT offline. Even to a certain extent, I'll talk about guys in relation to like CPU challenges and stuff like that too. So C tier guys are specialist guys. They're good at like good for a couple game modes. They're good at a couple things on the court. They'll bring a couple elements to your team, etc. D tier guys are good at 1 or 2 things. These guys are like super specialists. In the right hands, they're going to be pretty good. Certain people can get away with using them, especially if you're good with like a certain jump shot or a certain aspect of the card. And they're going to be good for, you know, 1 or 2 modes. But for the most part, all the guys above them are going to be better. And F tier, guys that I just recommend not using just because there's just better options and stuff like that. So last thing before we get started, I do not watch any other tier lists on YouTube before I do these, so if you watch other tier lists and they have cards ranked higher or lower than mine, yeah, I try to keep my mind as clear from other tier lists as possible before we do these, just so I'm not having a copy and paste tier list from like another YouTuber up here. So it's interesting to see like the similarities when I go and watch the other ones after I do mine though. So either way, let's get started with Adrian Dantly. He's a reward. A spotlight reward from I believe season 2. He's F tier. He's really not good. I mean, if you're good with the card and you have to do like say a Pistons challenge or something like that, I mean, go right ahead, but at the same time, like he can't really shoot. He plays like moderate defense at the absolute best. There's better options for literally every game mode and every play style than Adrian Dantly. The only thing I will say about him is he's a free card, so if you have him, like, it's not terrible, you know. Got some nice crispy sparkling water. And if you guys haven't noticed, I just like basically rolled out of bed and I have this Kelly Olynyk hairstyle right now, so don't judge me too hard. Next up, we got Diamond Allen Iverson. Diamond Allen Iverson, I would say, is about C tier at this stage of the game. He's still AI, so he's got those really cheesy AI animations. He's got that good Trey Burke-based jump shot. He's fast. You know, you can kind of run around other point guards. But at the same time, like he lacks a lot of defense and height. Can't really put him in C or A tier, but he's good for a variety of game modes and a variety of play styles. Fully evoed up Anthony Edwards. I would say he's probably about C tier too. Now the reason I'm putting him in C tier instead of like D tier is he does bring that bonus in TTO and Unlimited where he will register as an Emerald as opposed to, I think he goes up to what, an Amethyst. He's a great rim running card. He plays pretty good defense. He can facilitate. He's good for a few different modes, TT offline, and Unlimited being 3 that he's pretty solid in. He can also be used in pretty much anything with matchmaking. He's going to be pretty useful for just because he will kill that overall for you. So Sidney Moncrief. Moncrief's decent, man. He's actually like a really good defensive stopper. He's one of the better defensive guards in this game, to be completely honest with you. You can add some badges to him. He kind of has a low overall, but he still has like a passable 83-pointer. You know, you get a shoe on him, you get a coach, you get a floor general out there with him. Then he goes up to like high 80s, which is not terrible for threes. He's got a decent shot too. He's good for a variety of modes, but I think he's just kind of middle of the road at this stage in the game. Like, if he came out like a month ago, he would have been great. He would probably have been like B or A tier, but that's just not the case right now. Same goes for Bingo. I think Bingo is basically like C tier at this stage as well. Everything I said about Moncrief, you could say about Bingo as well. He's a good defensive card. He's useful. He has like a good dynamic duo as well. Though, like, I don't really know what situation you'd be using him and I think it's Austin Carr. But it doesn't prove both of them, so if you ever have to do a Cavaliers challenge, like, those two guys are going to be very useful. But I think there's better options than Bingo at this stage in the game. He is a little bit small at 6'5" at the 2 guard, which is very passable, but he's not big by any means, if that makes sense. So Brandon Roy, I'm going to wait to rank Brandon Roy just because he's really tough to rank, so I'm going to chill on him. Donovan Mitchell is still probably B tier at this stage. I don't think he's quite A tier, just because the guys in A tier are definitely better than Donovan Mitchell, but he's very useful for a multitude of game modes, a multitude of play styles. He can attack the rim, he can defend, he can facilitate. He's wonderful for, especially for limited runs when it comes to like using an Amethyst and like a diamond or a pink diamond or something. Like, Donovan Mitchell is one you'll run into pretty frequently. I think he's starting to get passed up by some of the newer Amethyst point guards that we're getting, like De'Aaron Fox and a couple other guys who do the same stuff as him, just a little bit better in some areas, a little worse than others. So it's all about preference. He's just a little outdated at this stage, just because with badge counts, like the cards that are coming out now have higher badge counts, better badges, better stats, etc. But Donovan Mitchell's still really cheesy. And when he gets a higher level card, which he will in the near future, it'll be really good. Brian Winters. Brian Winters is probably C tier. I mean, he still plays pretty good defense, and he's a good 3-and-D guy. Like, he can handle the ball a little bit too. The knocks on him realistically are he's outdated and his badge count is kind of low. But at the same time, the badges he does have are decent. But he doesn't bring you like a lot of, like, having that diamond tier kind of hurts. Like, if he was an amethyst tier card, I would look on him like a little bit better personally. I don't know. It's a weird thing to think, but that's kind of how I feel. But I've been playing around with him because I had to do XP challenges with like Bucks players and stuff, and he's actually not as bad as I thought he was. So, Buddy Hield. And Buddy Hield's D tier. I like Buddy Hield, don't get me wrong, but he's a little undersized for the 2 guard position. And if he could play point guard, I'd probably have him in C tier, but he can't. He's a pretty good Ruby option. He has uses, especially when it comes to like limited or TTO and stuff like that. He does have like, I think bronze or silver range. I can't remember because I upgraded a bunch of badges on this Buddy Hield for a limited run, so I'm not really sure what he has off the base. But he's a pretty decent card. Buddy Hield's jump shot's okay. When we get an upgraded Buddy Hield, if he can play point guard, he'll be really good. If he can play shooting guard, small forward, I just recommend using other people. Byron Scott. This is my guy for a really long time, but it's time to face facts, man. He's outdated. He can't get a lot of the important badges in this game. He's still useful if you want to torch people and like triple threat or triple threat offline. Even during certain limited runs, he's still useful, but he doesn't really play the shooting guard position very well. And at point guard, there's just better, all offense, no defense point guards at this stage. Like Trey's way better. Pantheon Trae Young's a lot better. Amon Shumpert's just a better overall card than him, so Campy Russell's probably F tier at this stage in the game. I don't think this card's that bad per se, but if he was like a Ruby or a Sapphire with the badge count he has right now, he'd be good. But he's a starting level Amethyst that we got at the beginning of the year, so his badge count's kind of low. The only things I will say is he's got a big player build and he's got decent speed. That's about it. Charis Levert. Charis Levert's tough to rank too, because I try to factor in every game mode, including like limited and stuff like that, and I have 90 cards to like rank, so I'm gonna just go ahead and just throw him down here. Same with Brandon Roy, because I just don't know what to do with him yet. CJ McCollum. I'm gonna call him C tier. There's gonna be a lot of cards in C tier for 2 guards. 2 guards is a very divisive position. I mean, he's a great scorer. He plays a little defense. He's just a little small. Him and Brian Winters are probably right next to each other as far as like rank. Clyde Drexler is B tier. He is. Clyde Drexler is a walking bucket for sure. His jump shot's a little weird, so you got to get used to it. That's kind of a thing, but he dunks over everybody. He can ball handle. He can play a little bit of defense. He does everything like okay. And some people love Clyde Drexler, some people don't. I don't think he deserves to be an A tier. He might move up. It just kind of depends how the rankings shake out once I actually fill up A tier. So, Catino Mobley. He's better than Buddy Hield, but he's basically just Buddy Hield. Like, as far as like what he does, I would put him in C tier because he's got better badges and a better release, but he's just a really small 2-guard. If he could play point guard, like usual with Catino Mobley, if he could play point guard, he'd be a lot better, but he can't, so. D'Lo. D'Lo's upper echelon C tier. He definitely would be in B tier. You can add clamps to him and stuff. I mean, if he's fully, I try not to do that. If he's fully badged up, he's X tier type thing. Like, yeah, I mean, if you spend $200K and fully badge out Donovan Mitchell and D'Angelo Russell, like, yeah, you could argue they'd be in B or A tier, but I'm trying to do it off a normal person's experience. Like, a normal person isn't going to spend $100K to badge up D'Lo, so they're going to use D'Lo as a base card. Really good for TTO, really good for limited runs and stuff like that. Can be usable and unlimited as well. He does a few things very well. He's incredibly efficient at scoring the ball. He's got a really long wingspan as well, which helps to kind of play lanes and intercept passes, but he's going to get eaten alive on the defensive end 90% of the time, especially if you're playing him at the 2-guard. Like, that's just a fact. You can put clamps on him, but to fully badge up a dude to gold clamps is like 100K. I don't really think it's worth it to put it on D'Lo at this stage. He's better left to be used as TTO and have fun with him. Daryl Griffith, he's okay. Like, he's in these string of reward cards right here. They're all just like pretty solid. And if you're using them, cool. Isaiah Ryder, I love Isaiah Ryder, and he is subject to move up to B tier, but he's a worse version of like what Clyde Drexler is realistically. He's still got those super cheesy dunk animations that are almost impossible to stop, but I mean realistically, like at this stage in the game, he is a little bit outdated, and it's going to take a lot to badge him up, and he does lack some pretty important badges, so I can't sit here and say that he's like a B tier guy. James Silas. This guy actually launched my YouTube career legitimately. I'm sure a lot of you guys watching this video only found me because of the James Silas video I did when the game first came out. But realistically, at this stage in the game, like, he's got to be F tier. It sucks because I love this card. Holds a special place in my heart. But I mean, he can't shoot. He was fast, but he's not really fast anymore comparatively to a lot of cards. He's undersized. He doesn't really have a lot of playmaking badges. It's just he's a beginning of the road card, and it sucks that he's not as good as he was. But that fact that he can't shoot, he can barely even shoot mid ranges. It's just, it hurts. It really hurts. Kyle Korver is C tier. Kyle Korver C tier because he's just so useful in so many game modes. Like, straight up. I'm aware Kyle Korver can't run rim. He can't really play defense. He got good length though, so he can jump lanes and stuff like that pretty easy, but he's not fast. He's just a pure shooter. But just for how good he is in limited and like TTO and stuff like that, he deserves to be in C tier. He fits the parameters of C tier to a T. David Thompson, like Isaiah Ryder, David Thompson is a worse version of what Clyde Drexler brings to your team. Plus, he's a little bit smaller than both those guys as well, and he shoots a little bit worse as well, so not much to elaborate, dude. I got 94 cards in this list. I can't break down all of them to a T, you know. I can take a sip of this ice cold sparkling water, though. Del Curry. Del Curry's probably B tier as of right now. He's subject to move down. I think he's better than all these guys in C tier as of right now. But he's the first person to get kicked out of B tier, realistically. But he is a sharpshooter. If you ever played against him, he's really annoying. He makes pretty much every wide open shot. He makes a pretty high rate of contested shots as well. He can ball handle and play a little bit of point guard. He's like a much better version of what Catino Mobley is. Got a really nice jump shot. That's about it. Bradley Beal. He's in D tier. I really like this card, and he has his uses, especially when it comes to like Sapphire below limited runs. This dude is a god. This dude is a straight up god. He's up there with the big three Sapphire guys right now. And he came out so early on too, so it's crazy that he's still good, but he's got really good badges, and easy to time jump shot. He can handle the ball. He can be like a secondary playmaker. And for TTO limited and stuff, he fits D tier. Jeff Hornacek's bad. Like, I was really excited for this card because at the beginning of the year, I was like, oh man, he can shoot, and like no cards could shoot at the beginning of the year, so I was stoked, but he's 6'3", doesn't have range. Only plays the 2 guard, literally. Just not good. Manu's C tier. I like Manu still. He is sneakily one of the better dribbling cards in this game. He has good dribble moves, and they're fast, so you can get a lot of them off really quick. He has an easy to time jump shot. He just lacks a couple important badges. I still like him a lot. I used to run him a lot, so. Oh, you know Rex Chapman's going C tier. He's the C tier guy. He's up there. I can't put him in B tier because I really, like, nah, Del Curry gets moved down. I don't think Del Curry's really that much better than Rex Chapman, if I'm being completely honest with you. Rex Chapman is the Ruby GOAT. Like, for any limited run or anything like that, Rex Chapman is always on the floor for me. I run him in TTO constantly. He's so useful for so many game modes. If you want a lower overall cheese and unlimited, Rex Chapman's right there for you. He's a lights out scorer. He's one of the best scorers in this game right now. And he's a Ruby card that came out weeks ago. He really is that good. Like, he's got an easy to time jump shot. He's got that Ray Allen base, which makes, if you're not aware, Ray Allen's base, this is not a proven fact, but I promise you it's true, makes the most whites out of any base in this entire game. It's not particularly close. Just like Pete Maravich's base, whatever that one is, I kind of forgot what it is. His base and upper, for whatever reason, they seem to miss the most whites in the game. Rex Chapman's Ray Allen base with whatever upper he has seems to make the most whites in the game, so it's kind of weird. James Harden. Well, I'll do this James Harden first. This James Harden's D tier. He's the lowest end of D tier. He's usable in a couple modes. He does a couple things well. This James Harden I don't have a lot of experience with because he's just really expensive. I don't feel like paying that for him. So I played like one game with him and he just feels like James Harden. So I think this one's probably C tier. I mean, I don't know. The James Harden's always really tough to rank. Like, I ranked him. Let me look at his DB real quick because I do have some notes on him. But, like, I ranked his Pink Diamond in A tier last time, and I, like, to be honest, completely regretted it almost instantaneously just because I don't think he was really worthy of it. So I did have to make an adjustment on that last time and kind of go from there. But I don't think he's worse than the Pink Diamond for sure. But is he really that terrible? I mean, he really can't play a lick of defense, and he can't get any defensive badges. He's a great offensive player. He's got great badges, but I think C tier is kind of where he belongs. And he can't play point guard, again, for whatever reason. I don't understand it. Allen Houston. That hurts my soul to have to do this, Allen Houston, but yeah, he C tier. No, I'm not even going to elaborate on it. That's just a personal preference thing. If you think he belongs in D tier, that's fine. I will understand that, but he's better than these guys. And Jeff Malone, C tier. Bang average. He's okay. He's got T-Mac jump shot. That's about it. I love you, Rip Hamilton. You were my guy for like a really long time, but yeah, go down to D tier. I'll put you in the top of D tier though, because you're still my favorite out of these guys. You and Byron Scott and Bradley Beal. You two go to the bottom. Drazen Petrovic. He's still a lights out jump shooter, but he's not B tier. I haven't really got to the truly elite guys yet. I put all like the mediocre guys in front, so. Demar Derozan, C tier. Plays good defense, good length. He just can't shoot threes. That's the only thing he can't do. And I know for a lot of people that's a huge problem. But if you surround him with 4 3-point shooters, it's not really that big of a deal. Like, yeah, people are going to sag off him, but he can crack mid-ranges at a high. You just have to take one step forward. So, and if you're running like a certain mid-range plays, like DeMar DeRozan's lethal, plus he attacks the rim at a high rate. I don't think he's that far off from Isaiah Ryder. Isaiah Ryder can just shoot better. Same with like David Thompson. These guys are pretty similar. Stacy Ogman. I like Stacy Ogman, but like in the grand scheme of things, I don't think he's as good as a lot of these guys just because he lacks that shooting touch. And he's not as good at attacking the rim as like DeMar DeRozan or David Thompson. He's not as good at shooting mid-ranges as DeMar DeRozan. He's a great defensive card. He's a really lockdown defensive player, but I just don't think he's there's just better options. I think all these guys will benefit your team. I mean, Stacey Augman's good for, I don't know, he's good for, so when you get up to like Hall of Fame difficulty and you're playing the CPU, you want guys like Stacey Augman that can attack the rim and play excellent defense, because you can barely shoot in Hall of Fame difficulty anyway. So he does have his uses there, but that's about the only time I would say he's got real uses. And I love Stacey Augman as a player. Jordan Clarkson, he's D tier, but not for the reasons you think. Like, he's D tier because he's a Sapphire. Like, you're not going to be running him over any of these guys in a realistic game. But at the same time, as far as Sapphire guys, like, him and Bradley Beal are incredible. Like, Clarkson's really good. He's got a really easy to time jump shot. He attacks the rim pretty well. He even plays pretty decent defense. Like, he's like a low tier Amethyst disguised as a Sapphire card. Like, straight up. Him and another guy who I'll talk about in my next tier list for small forwards are incredibly good. Kerry Kittles. Man, Kerry Kittles, I like you, bud, but these guys are all just better for everything. Desmond Mason. I mean, realistically, I can't put him any lower than these four guys. They all deserve to be right next to each other. They all do the same thing, essentially. Some shoot a little bit better than others, while others play defense or attack the rim a little bit better. They all have intangibles that make them either a little better or a little worse than the other three guys, but they're all basically the same. Luka. He's tough, man. Probably like lower end B tier. There's some people who are incredibly good with Luka Doncic. I'm not one of those people, but there are people that exist that are really good with him. He's got a solid badge count as well. I don't know. He's got nice size, too. Like, he has things that are really good about him. He doesn't have, like, any defensive badges, though, which I think is, like, kind of a problem. So I'll probably put him right next to Harden, realistically. I'm not, like, some other YouTubers that are, you need to have clamps to be above C tier type of guy. Like, I'm really not. But, like, when you look at the negatives and positives, like, he is a pink diamond. He doesn't bring you those. He's an offensive stopper. You're going to have to hide him on defense. I don't know. He's subject to move up, though. You know, he's subject to move down because he's still, like, an elite offensive player. Plus, he's got, like, really good facilitating badges. He does 4 out of the 5 things incredibly well. He just doesn't play defense very well. Austin Carr. Austin Carr is okay, but unless you have that duo with, where's my man here? Was it with Bingo Smith? He's not really usable. And being a diamond, he kind of raises your overall. So, Thibault. Thibault's C tier. Straight up, he is. He's incredibly useful. He's one of the best defensive cards in the entire game, let alone at the Ruby tier. So, that fits the criteria of C tier. He's a 3-and-D cone and an elite one at that. And to be honest with you, when you're playing limited and stuff like that, and you come across Matisse Thybulle out in the wire, like, you're not scoring on him. You're really not. He's got excellent defensive tendencies, too, so people can off-ball with him, and he'll sit there and lock them down, no problem. Just a really good card. Jamal Crawford's B tier. He doesn't play a lick of defense, but he can play the point guard position, which is huge. He has incredibly cheesy dribble moves and easy-to-time jump shot. He attacks the rim really well. He's an offensive juggernaut. He can facilitate as well. Yeah, my man, he's really good. Like, especially for a budget, too. I also, to a certain extent, I include budget in these rankings as well. And Jamal Crawford's like 50, 60K, which is less than James Harden by like 40K. And he's definitely better than him. So that's for sure. This pink diamond James Harden's probably just B tier. I mean, it depends how you feel about James Harden, realistically. I'm not a huge James Harden fan, but I can't sit here and tell you he's worse or better than Luka at this stage in the game now that I've played around with him a little bit more. I mean, he's a lights-out shooter and a lights-out offensive threat. He's probably as good as Jamal Crawford. Just depends what kind of player you like better. Like, if you're more into the Trey Burke base, you'll like Jamal Crawford. If you're more of a Harden fan, you'll like Harden. If you're more of a Luka fan, you'll like Luka. But all three of these guys do the exact same thing. Richie Guerin C tier at this point. I like Richie Guerin a lot, but we've just gotten better options. Like, he's not as good as Donovan Mitchell. And realistically, I can't put him up there. So, Ruby Ray Allen is D tier. He's a great three-point shooter. It's just, you know, he's good for TTO. He's good for limited runs, etc. He's got a couple things he's really good at. He shoots the lights out, but that's about all he can do. It's not his fault. Dennison of S tier. Dwayne Wade. I mean, if you've run into him in any game mode, he's annoying. Like, every game mode, he shits hard. He's got a lights-out jump shot. He can do that super annoying, cheesy three-point hunting he could do last year, which is super annoying, especially when you're playing TTO. And you're sitting there trying to keep up with this fast fucking guy with his dribble moves, and he's just launching threes every 5 seconds. He's elite at all 5 things that you need in 2K. He can facilitate. He can play that like point guard position, which is huge. I mean, honestly, even if he was a shooting guard, he'd probably still be S tier. He's small, but he's that good at everything. He's lights out defensively with like the Hall of Fame clamps and some other Hall of Fame badges. He shoots, he attacks the rim, he pretty much dunks over everybody. He's got playmaking badges. There's just not much I can say about it. He's an Opal Dwayne Wade. He's meta cheesy and good at the same time. Devin Booker, get over here with the foursome of all offensive guys that don't really do anything else. I mean, I'm not a huge Devin Booker fan. I don't like Devin Booker in game. Like, I really don't. He's the first person I'd move down to C tier. I'm being completely honest there. But he's a lights-out offensive player. Plays a little bit of defense. He deserves to be in B tier, in my opinion. Klay Thompson. I honestly do think Klay Thompson deserves to be in B tier. I know he has that issue where he'll switch onto the center, which does suck. But he's got the best off-the-catch release in the entire game. He plays very, very good defense as well. He's got great size at the 2 guard. I don't ever use this Klay Thompson, but if you run into someone who's good with him, like, he's more than deserving of B tier with how I have B tier set up. If that makes sense. Amethyst Kobe. D. I mean, he just... I don't know. He lacks badges. He's not as good as Allen Houston offensively. He's not as good as, like, a lot of these guys defensively. It's more out of disappointment. He's upper echelon D tier. I'm probably going to move a couple C tier guys down to D at some point, so I'll redo it at the end. Barnett's probably D tier as well. He's actually not as bad as people say, but he's not good. T-Mac. Love you, buddy, but you're B tier. He's still got those T-Mac animations. He's got the T-Mac jump shot. He's got everything you like about T-Mac. He doesn't play a single lick of defense. Notice I haven't brought up Steady Shooter this entire time because it's really not that big of a deal. If a card has Steady Shooter, pretty much every card has Steady Shooter. Like every time a new card comes out, it ends up having Steady. I think Kobe and I think this Pink Diamond James Harden doesn't have it. But it's really not as bad as it was last year, so. Alright, we're back to Charis Levert. He's going C tier. Big size, he's a free card. He works in multiple game modes. He's just an overall pretty solid card. RIP Paul Westphal, he's going C tier. Really good offensive card, but that's about it at this stage in the game. Like, realistically. So I'm going to move a couple guys down here pretty soon. I haven't really decided who they're going to be yet, so probably Anthony Edwards. He's good, but move him down to D. Doug Christie, great 3-and-D guy, but there's better. There's better 3-and-D guys at this stage. Doug Collins, D tier. Great shooter, that's it. But he's like a worse version of like what Brian Winters and McCollum are. Brandon Roy is C tier. I like Brandon Roy a lot, but I think all these guys are better than him. Personally, that's just me. Duncan Robinson's D tier. Incredibly effective in a Sapphire Below limited run or TTO, but that's about it. He's a great spot-up shooter, though. And although he doesn't have great defensive badges, he's 6'7", so he can jump lanes and stuff like that. Eddie Jones, A tier. Really good card. Great defensive tendencies, defensive badges. This year he can handle the ball pretty well as well, so he can attack the rim. He's not just a 3-and-D cone, kind of like what he was last year. They made some changes there, or just the gameplay changes in general make it so. He's a 5-tool guy. He's no Dwayne Wade, but he's very good. I know there's going to be a lot of YouTubers that put Eddie Jones into S tier. Same with another guy I'm going to put into A tier that I know some people are going to be upset over, but it is what it is. I don't think there should be 6 to 7 guys in S tier at this stage in the game. There should be like 2, personally. Jason Richardson. I think Jason Richardson's A tier, to be honest with you. Once you put clamps on him, like, he's an incredibly effective card. He's got a big body, good speed, he can shoot, he can dunk better than a lot of these cards. I personally think he's better than all these guys. If you believe he's in B tier and one of these guys should be moved up to A tier, like I said, like, I totally will hear you out on that. Just personally, from me using all these guys, I think Jason Richardson is a little bit better at the 2 guard position than some of these guys are. AI is A tier for sure. He's one of the most annoying offensive cards in the entire game. Like, it's not even particularly close. It's super annoying how it goes. You run into this man on TTO, you're about to get flamed, and it's super frustrating. But I'm of the opinion that it's actually a good thing that they gave all these free pink diamonds out. Yeah, I know people are upset because they're like, they spent $500 and they have an all pink diamond team, and then they run into like one guy who has AI starting and like John Morant on the bench, and they're upset because they're like, don't believe they should get those free cards for whatever reason. But like, it's good for people to have a free pink diamond that's actually very usable, like Allen Iverson. That's a good thing. He's incredibly good. That affects his ranking too. The fact that he's free, you don't have to do anything to get this card. You just put in a locker code. It's great. Gail Goodrich, he's good, but D tier. One trick pony, man. Gary Harris, C. Really good budget guy. He's incredibly cheap. He plays excellent defense. He shoots. He attacks the rim. He can facilitate a little bit. You can add badges to him that are solid. I wouldn't. Just because we get a new solid Ruby every week or two, so there's no point in like badging up Gary Harris, because we're just going to get like another elite style Ruby here pretty soon. But like, he is in the group of elite Rubies with like Matisse Thybulle, Rex Chapman, Charis Levert. Like, all these Ruby guys are elite. They all deserve to be right next to each other. Sapphire T-Mac. He has his uses. He's still a Tracy McGrady card. He's just not a very good one. Hal Greer. He's bang average. Like, he does... I don't really have much to say about him. Hershey Hawkins is actually okay, but I don't think he deserves to be in C tier. Like, realistically. Oh, Shumpert. Get over there with your Ruby comrade. Shumpert is incredible. Obviously, you can't go B tier. Like, these guys are all better than Shumpert. But Shumpert's elite in like 3 to 4 game modes, dude. He's elite for limited, overall cheesing and unlimited, TTO, TT offline. He's elite in all those. He's elite even playing like Hall of Fame CPU because he's an incredible rim runner and he plays excellent defense. So he's so good. Like, Walter Davis. Walter Davis deserves to go right next to T-Mac. T-Mac's a little bit better offensively, whereas Walter Davis is a little bit better defensively. But they're essentially the same card when it comes to animation, SIGs, etc., jump shot. They do the same thing. Walter Davis is more of a rim-running defender, whereas T-Mac's more of a kind of overall offensive beast. So it just depends how your playstyle is, which one of these guys you would choose. Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero's C tier. He's basically like a significantly better version of Duncan Robinson. Basically is what he is. He's really good, and if you like Tyler Hero, he's got one of the fastest jump shots in the game, but he's not bringing you much outside of shooting, a tiny bit of defense, and a little bit of rim running, realistically. Jalen Brown, he's also B tier, I think. Upper echelon B tier. I think he's the best out of these B tier guys, in my opinion, anyway. Walter Davis is pretty close. He might move up to A tier. I'm a really big fan of this Jalen Brown card. Like, realistically, he's good. And when badged up, he's still one of the best 2 guards, but I think Eddie Jones is basically exactly what Jalen Brown is, but a little bit better. Just because he has those tendencies. So him playing off ball, he'll just rip the ball constantly, and that's kind of huge. John Starks is C tier. He's good. He plays excellent defense, especially at the point guard. He's just a little slow with like an 84, 85 speed. I'm not a huge fan of his jump shot, but J.R. Smith is S tier. I don't like it, but he does everything really well. Elite jump shot, he's fast, he attacks the rim, he plays a bit of defense. He's not as good as Dwayne Wade. It's not even a thing, but he's still an S tier level card at this point. Kevin Martin, C tier. I'm not even going to go into it. Kobe Bryant, he's S tier. He is. He's good at everything. He's incredible at everything, not worth the price. But he's elite in every aspect of the game. Every mode, every aspect, he's an elite card. He's what constitutes S tier. J.R. Smith might move down. Actually, I'm considering it. I will. I'll move him down to A tier. He's incredibly good. I just don't think he's on these 2 guys' level at this point. He's not. Oladipo's okay, C tier. Eric Gordon is D tier. I like Eric Gordon a lot, but he's not even close to as good as these 5 guys. Like, he's not. Marcus Smart. I don't think he's like worthless, like, or F tier. I don't think. He plays really good defense. Yeah, he's probably D tier. Like, he's like a way worse version of like Matisse Thybulle. So, Marquise Johnson. I'm gonna put him in C tier just strictly because he can dunk at 64 years old. which is pretty sick. And he was in he was in White Men Can't Jump, which I just found out the other day. So I'm going to put him in C tier based on that, but he's just not really that great. Okay, rim running card. Eddie Johnson. Solid size-wise, it's just outdated. Michael Cooper, still a pretty usable 3-and-D guy, to be completely honest with you. Not great, but he's more than usable. Amethyst Mj. Yeah. Sorry, bros, if this hurts, but D tier for you and D tier for your friend. He's just not really that good. I'll put him in C tier because he plays excellent defense and runs the rim really well, and he's usable in a few different game modes in a few different occasions. It's not like the lack of shooting really kills him. The Ruby one obviously is not good, so I'm going to throw him in. Actually, to be honest with you, he doesn't even play defense well. I got to throw him in F tier. Yeah, I just personally like MJ's just... I like him a lot, but this MJ does go in B tier though. Straight up, he jumps a tier from the D tier list. Like, this MJ is really good. He shoots a lot better. He plays excellent defense. He runs rim. He's fast. Does everything you kind of want him to do, realistically. Michael Redd. No, he's still an elite sniper. He deserves to be in B tier, I think. No, probably C tier. He's not as good as these guys, like, realistically. He's good, though. I like Michael Redd. I'm a huge fan. Zach LaVine, A tier. I know you're going to look at lists and they're going to have JR and Zach LaVine in S tier, but like I said, I think S tier should be probably just a couple of cards that are infallible, like Kobe Bryant and Dwayne Wade. I think A tier is where these 4 guys belong. Jason Richardson, you could argue he doesn't belong and one of these other guys does. That's a personal thing, like, realistically. So if you want to say that Jason Richardson doesn't belong in A tier, he should be down in B, and you think Walter Davis or Jalen Brown deserves to be up there, like, I understand, but that's just how I feel. Is Jason Richardson's really good. But these 3 guys, I just think there's no way they can be an S tier. They're really, really good. They're just not as good as these 2 guys, like, realistically. Mitch Richmond, D tier. I like this card a lot, but D tier. Monte Ellis. And this one kind of hurts. Once he's badged up, he's as good as Donovan Mitchell, if not a little bit better. So I'll put him in B tier. Realistically, obviously he's better at point guard. Could you argue he's down in C tier with these guys? Most definitely you could. I just think he's better than all the cards down in C tier, so that's why he's in B. Nick Anderson. Where's my holy group right here? The god tier rubies I always use. Charis Levert's like on the outs. I use him occasionally. I'm a big fan of him because of his size, but he has nothing on these 3. These 4 guys are the god tier rubies in the game. Get out of here, Gary Harris. Go over here. Thibault, Chapman, Nick Anderson, Shumpert are literally god tier rubies this year. That's why when I do limited videos, I tell people don't even use whatever, like, if you're allowed 1 amethyst and 1 diamond, don't even use them on small forwards or shooting guards, because these 4 guys exist. Straight up. Like, you don't need to use that on any of those positions. Otis Birdsong's really good. He's really good still. B tier. Pistol Pete, down in C tier. I don't like Pistol Pete. You could argue he's B tier, but I'm just not a huge fan of him, personally. Phil Chenier, bang average, C tier. Ray Allen. Ray Allen's kind of tough, man. I think Ray Allen probably still deserves to be an A tier. You'll still see him in 250K lineups for a reason. Like, he's still incredibly good offensively. He plays really good defense. He can attack the rim. I would say he's the worst out of these A tier guys, personally. Now, you could argue he's better than Jason Richardson, but I think he deserves to be right here. I'm not a huge fan of him, but he's okay. Rip Hamilton's actually incredibly good. I'm going to put him in B tier. Plays excellent defense, has a great shot. He's got good size. He can attack the rim. He doesn't have range extender, which I think is stupid, number 1. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure you can add it. Let me double check that while I'm here. But I'm almost certain that you can add range extender to him. Wait, who's that? Rich Hamilton? Yeah. My man, Richard. Let's check. Rip Hamilton, yeah. If you can add range extender, he deserves to be in B tier. I'm pretty sure you can. Yeah, you can add range extender. Once you add range extender to him and a few defensive badges, he's actually a lights out 3-and-D guy. That rivals any of these guys, like Klay Thompson even. Excellent release off the catch. He can attack the rim a little bit. Rip Hamilton's incredibly good. Sam Jones, I think he's the lowest B tier guy, but he's B tier. Definitely the lowest B tier guy for sure. like without a doubt. He's acceptable enough, but there's better options. Shea plays good defense, can shoot a little three, but C tier is where he belongs. Steve Smith. I mean, him and Doug Christie deserve to probably be right next to each other wherever Doug Christie is. I know I put him somewhere at some point, yeah. Him and Doug Christie are right here. Like, they're not as good as Michael Cooper. Michael Cooper's better than them. I even think Nick Anderson's better than those guys. And Tony Allen. You can just get guys that play as good of defense as Tony Allen, but they can shoot a little bit better. I don't think he's you know what? He's not completely worthless. Like, in certain challenges, in certain limited runs, he has value. Especially when it comes to, like, if you ever have to do a limited run again where you have to use guys who have a 70 or under three-pointer, Tony Allen's going to be your best friend because this dude is, like, almost unstoppable attacking the rim, and he plays lights-out defense, but he cannot shoot at all to save his life. Even his mid-range is pretty whack, but if you have a special limited challenge where you have to use him, Tony Allen's still good. Like, all of these guys down in F tier, like, if there's a special limited challenge that, like, you have to use a certain skill set that this guy has, in every case, there's better options. In Tony Allen's case, that one special case, I don't think there's too many better options than Tony Allen having to use a guy like him. Like, there's just not. Maybe Desmond Mason would be the only other one I think would be under. Yeah, Desmond Mason, I think even he has higher than a 73-pointer, so Tony Allen's the guy for that situation. Like, realistically, him and Amethyst Mj are like the two that you would use in that scenario. So, anyways, guys, it's been your boy Cheap Ludes. Let me know down in the comment section below what you thought of the list. Who you think should have moved up? Who should have moved down? Who do you think I trashed too hard for no reason? And let me know what's going on. Other than that, if you want to support the channel, you know, donate to it or whatever, I do have my donation link in the description. So if you want to donate a couple bucks, help the channel out, that would be awesome. It is the new year. My internet bill is really high, so, you know, help me out if you can. Other than that, man, just drop a like on this video, comment down below, subscribe if you're new. I'll be back with the small forward tier list here pretty soon. So it's been good doing this, and I will continue to do the rest of the positions. So